All right, I am going to just remove this and introduce everyone to the show. Welcome to episode 35 now of Beyond the CMS, where we have deep dive conversations with content management industry leaders and CMS platform experts and leadership. We're currently live on LinkedIn and Facebook, where we encourage anyone who's making their time out lunchtime, Eastern Standard Time, and all different parts of the day for folks coming from around the world to really ask us anything. We're really open. And if you don't catch the whole show today, we do have our archives on your normal podcast channels, Apple and Spotify, and YouTube as well. So I'm Chris Bryce. I'm the CEO of Dotfusion Digital, where I specialize in coaching customers towards choosing the right CMS for them. And then my team essentially designs and implements digital projects as well. But I really love chatting with industry thought leaders about content and content platforms. We're non-sponsored, grassroots, and I just want to thank everyone again for joining us today. And let's get started. Episode 35. I want to introduce my special guest, Mario Lenz, the CPO at Hygraph. Mario, thank you for making time in your evening. I know you're checking in from Berlin, and it's really wonderful to have you. And maybe you want to introduce yourself before we dig in.
Yeah, Mario Lenz, as I said, and yes, from, how can I say, dark, nasty, dirty, coldish Berlin these days. So I'm the Chief Product Officer, Chief Technology Officer at Hygraph. I probably will speak about Hygraph a little bit later. So it's a Headless CMS company in a nutshell. We can go into detail probably later what's so special about us. I joined the company a little bit more than 2 years ago. So I'm not an industry veteran in that particular area. Rather, before basically I spent a couple of different stations in different companies, always in this product leadership, CPO type of role. So that's
cool.
Essentially me.
What were you doing before that? Or before this?
Oh, you want the short story or the long one? I mean, if you
short story.
talk about my whole career, that would take a while. I mean, given I usually refer to myself as the dinosaur in my team. So I basically, the first part of my career, the first 10 years, I spent as a CTO in a subsidiary of Bertelsmann. And then around 2011, so already, oh my God, that's embarrassing, 15 years ago, I stepped very consciously to product leadership roles. So typically these CPO type of roles in B2B companies, in scale-up companies. That's what I've been doing essentially a couple of times now with different companies.
Awesome. Well, the folks who typically join the show, they're primarily CMOs or kind of higher up in the marketing team that gets tasked with making complex technology decisions, choosing the right platform, the right technology stack. My real goal today is to give you as much an opportunity to tell folks about what Hygraph's up to and the way you think about things from a content perspective. But you tapped into something earlier that I do my best to talk about. And you mentioned that Hygraph is essentially a headless CMS. And just as a way of kicking this off, what do you mean by that, actually?
So probably very well known is WordPress. We all know WordPress, and WordPress is powering the internet even today. Yeah, I mean, let's be real. But WordPress essentially means you have a front end directly associated with it. So you see directly the website. Basically, you build your content and you directly build it for a website, because the internet has been the website essentially for ages. Well, for 20 years, 25 years. And headless essentially means you're becoming independent of the front end. Yes, you can build a website, but you can also build it for a mobile app, or maybe your mobile, or maybe we have customers in the gaming industry, for example. Maybe it's an element inside your digital game, or maybe you bring it on, I don't know, on the screen in your car, because it's in-car entertainment. Or going forward, a direction that I see very, very strong, that we see very strong, is we see how people, how users, how consumers are kind of Googling less and chatting more. So they solve their problems not by searching for blue links and visiting websites, but by really responding or chatting with ChatGPT or Claude or whatnot. And that means your content needs to show up there. Your content needs to be ready for an AI that can reason with it, resonate with it, argue with it, compare your products, maybe even make it possible to buy the products. All of a sudden, the front end is ChatGPT. And that is what Headless enables. So it allows you this flexibility in terms of the actual channel and device by means of which you reach your customers, your end customers.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I have a bunch of different ways of describing that, and that's spot on. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe tell us a little bit about Hygraph. Like, what's the philosophy behind it? What makes it different? And then we'll get into some features and functions.
I would say there are two things. I mean, first of all, Hygraph was born a couple of years ago. I was not there, to be very clear. I'm not a founder. Yeah, I joined later. But Hygraph was born as the first GraphQL-native headless CMS. So really, it's all about GraphQL. So it was in the beginning. So it was really because GraphQL gives you better precision compared to REST. It's sharper, it's more precise, it's more accurate. By the way, in the age of AI, it also gives AI this introspection, so AI can understand the data model. Yeah, it's kind of a typed interface and typed API. So this is where Hygraph originated from. Of course, others have built this as well, but we are still, I would say, still leading the pack here with everything. Basically, everything is based on GraphQL, so there's no way around it. Today, I would say our real strength is when we talk, and I think we even had that in our when we advertised this episode here, when we talk about complex content. And what I mean by complex content is, I mean, imagine, again, think about a retail company, a fashion company, a gaming company, and now you want to bring your content to many different countries, with many different locales, with many different customer segments, on many different devices, in many different channels, You get it, yeah? So, I mean, this topic is complex, and it's complex by nature, yeah? It's not because somebody made a silly mistake. It is complex. And this is basically, I would say, our job is basically in a Hygraph. I even say that internally, our job is to make that complexity maybe not simple. It cannot be made simple, but make it manageable. Yeah, make it easier to manage. And this is where Hygraph has a number of things, probably that would go into too much detail here, that make it easier, that make it simpler to manage this level of complexity with reusing components and all these. Essentially, I would say a good software engineer would immediately understand when you think about, I mean, that's my age, when you think about object-oriented programming and this kind of reuse and that. And this is where Hygraph is very strong. So complex content, because complexity is driven by the business of the customer.
Are you free to share any examples or kind of case studies where you have a customer with fairly complex content and how you're managing it?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I cannot give you the name, but say it's one of the leading gaming companies of this world. Okay. And now imagine, I mean, they're operating in many different countries. They have many different games. Yeah, all these digital games. I have to say, I'm not a gamer. The only thing I ever played, I think, was Angry Birds. Everything else with me, I don't know. So it's not me. My boys are different, but not for me. So you have that, and then you want to basically unify all your content operations across all games, across all channels, across all devices. I mean, the message on the web in the US should be the same as, say, the Xbox in New Zealand or whatever, yeah? And then, or maybe in Xbox New Zealand is a bad example because it's both English. Say it's in Japan, because all of a sudden it's even a different locale, but still the core message or the statement or whatever it is, is still the same. And maybe even dynamic, because you want, in-app purchases, when you have these pay-to-play kind of thingies. And I can buy something and I see the products, I buy a magic sword or whatever, so that I can fight better and win more battles or whatever it is. And this is a typical example where we have such customers. Others include typical retail companies, furniture. Actually, I never thought how complex furniture could be. I mean, when you just go through your furniture, you say, hey, this is a chair. This is a freaking chair. What's wrong with it? And then you think about it and all the dimensions and the material and the sizing and the color, and all of a sudden, you literally have 1 million of combinations for that chair.
Yeah.
And then you get the complexity. So that is what we see. So in this retail, furniture, gaming, all the different things. I mean, maybe to put it on the other, to explain it a little bit, what we are probably not the best for is if you want a simple landing page for your, I mean, it may be beautiful, it may be wonderfully designed and whatnot, but in terms of how often does it change, how many different aspects, customer segments, customer roles, personalization needs, all of that does it have, it's relatively simple. Honestly, there are better choices than Hygraph.
So if you're dealing with let's say a furniture company, is it safe to assume that you're synthesizing data from a number of different places essentially, and then presenting it through different channels? So you probably have a PIM somewhere and data from, okay.
That is the case specifically in these more commerce oriented, and that makes a big portion of among our customer base. So customers who really say they do commerce, they in the end they want to sell their furniture, or say Virtue Motors in UK, they want to sell cars and others, but they still have, say, a piece where they tell a story around their products. Maybe another good example is, because that I think resonates very well, is we also have a major coffee brand, so JDE, and of course you want to sell the coffee, but specifically around coffee, you want to tell a great story about how the plants and how it's harvesting, and maybe fair trade and all of that. So you want to do some marketing stuff around it. So because in the end it's coffee beans, it's coffee beans here and coffee beans there. So the marketing actually tells you what's different. And these commerce oriented, yes, they have very often these PIM, product information management systems. And then we have very often the scenario or the example, for example, Dr. Oetker is a big customer of ours, where they say, yes, all these products sit in our PIM system, but you know what? Our PIM, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, but just only a bit, our PIM dates back to the 1990s. So bringing that PIM to the internet is just a no-go. But we will not change it because, all the business processes and suppliers and production and manufacturing and whatnot, this will be a 10-year project. So that's why, what can we do? And this is, again, something where Hygraph is truly unique. We call it content federation. So actually, I talked about GraphQL earlier. We allow you to actually, in a seamless way, to fetch that data from any third-party data source. I mean, obviously, it needs to have an API. It needs to have a GraphQL or REST API. And fully transparent, give it to you, give it to the developer, for example, who's building the front end, so they don't even know where it's coming from. Whether it's coming from the CMS or the CMS just passes it through, essentially. So that's what we do with content federation. And that's what we see a lot, because, hey, you don't need to replicate. You don't need to copy your data. You don't need to, create duplicate data lakes and all of that. You will not be out of sync. You will always be, real-time access, apart, say, from technical aspects such as caching, but theoretically, you're fetching it real-time. And that is what we see, again, coming back to your original question, what we see a lot, fetching that data from third-party sources using content federation. And of course, PIM is whatever the PIM is, could also be the ERP system or whatever. So wherever your product data sits, yes, that's what we see a lot.
That's interesting. Can I ask you a question? We don't do a whole lot of rehearsal before the show. So I'm asking you a question on behalf of a prospective customer of ours. And they're looking for a solution where they have PIM information for a product. It's a manufacturer. They have marketing content for the product as well. It could be ancillary images. It could be storytelling around the product. and they've got e-com kind of transactional data. And they said, what is your solution for one, being able to model that content so it's schema ready, so we have a nice, clear, structured bit of content that's coming from three sources. And then how do we kind of keep track of it all? How would Hygraph kind of approach that situation?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a perfect fit. I mean, we would not replace the PIM. We would just integrate the PIM, as I explained earlier. I don't explain this too much, but as I briefly mentioned earlier. So just fetch it in, provide an API. We call that content federation, and bam, you are there. So for example, every product, just to give you a very real example, because you asked for it before, every product that you see on the Dr. Oetker website or on the Dr. Oetker recipes or whatever they're building, whenever there is a product, of course they do it because they want to sell their products. Every product comes from the PIM system. And if somebody goes to the PIM system and changes the name, changes the ingredient, changes whatever, it's there immediately. You don't need to do anything in the CMS. Likewise for commerce, we are not handling transactions. When it comes to checkouts and payment and delivery and return management or whatever, that's not us. That again, we would integrate with tools like Shopify, for example. And then the marketing content would usually sit with us. So you would model, you would write the marketing content with us. That was what was a little bit, I was a little bit puzzled in your description, because it sounded like marketing, they also have a system. So actually they have three systems and one, okay?
Yeah. There's a bit of a hybrid there where there was some content that they wanted to have attached to product content that was in marketing. Not always the case, but like, for example, one of the ideas would there be a three-dimensional kind of model that came in through marketing that would kind of be joint that wasn't in the PIM natively. So they're trying to connect these sources.
But then normally, I mean, you don't, again, with this, also with the content federation, you don't need to do that overnight. You can, because we have customers who gradually migrate to Hygraph. I mean, for example, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I talked to a customer and they said, yes, we are all on WordPress, but you know what? We have 60 plus WordPress sites even. I mean, talking about complexity. I mean, how do you manage 60 plus, probably different owners, different teams, different plugins, different, I don't know what. It's a nightmare. So what he can do with Hygraph is, of course, that he would gradually migrate the marketing stuff to Hygraph, but you don't need to do that as a big bang. Say, okay, that's the first part. We move it here. We have it in Hygraph. But for the marketing stuff, for the marketing content, probably the natural evolution would be you end up having it in Hygraph. Not the PIM, not the product data, not the commerce part, but the marketing part. So that's basically how I would envision how I would approach such a project.
Okay, and another one of their concerns was around a big concern was around SEO, and the challenge for them was they've been using WordPress for years, and it has the Yoast plugin in it. And that just does some magical SEO stuff right in the experience. And we're like, well, you're choosing a composable platform. Composable kind of means that you compose different systems. I don't know if we want to be kind of hybriding this middle thing, but how is Hygraph SEO aware? Maybe the best open question for you.
Yeah, so I mean, two answers here. I mean, in itself, Hygraph primarily is a headless CMS, and yes, we're coming from that composable stack idea, and we are really focusing on the things that we are good at. And the SEO usually sits with customers. So of course, you have means to structure it. So what we see a lot is that customers, for example, in our content models, in our content architecture, they explicitly model things for SEO. So having keywords there and all of that. But then what that content is, I mean, that's up for the customer. They need to know what kind of keywords are best, whatever. What we recently launched in Hygraph is actually that is a very, very perfect segue here into our second part that's also announced here, into AI, because we recently launched an agentic AI framework on top of Hygraph, with Hygraph, So that actually there are certain agents who automate certain, agents that, which, how, who, what's the pronoun actually for an agent? Is it her? I don't know. So they would automate a lot of the work, and one of the very first agents is exactly an SEO agent. However, it does, as of today, we do not yet changes. We change the SEO. We just give you the customer a report. Yeah, basically, we look at the page, we look at the information, and then there is a certain report on keywords and density and whatever the SEO. I'm not an SEO expert, but whatever is good or bad and can be improved. We don't improve. We don't change it because very often customers still don't want that full level of autonomy. They still want human in the loop and kind of what we call governance and control and guardrails. But at least it gives you that information and these hints on how to improve. So that's what we're doing. But one addition to that, because you said SEO, again, coming back to what I said earlier, when you think about SEO, think about GEO or whatever the future term of that will be, because it's no longer just being top ranked by Google. It means being mentioned by ChatGPT, and that means something different. So I would already think about that.
Yeah, good points. And while you're talking about AI and I guess implementing that in the author experience, what's the roadmap, or what are you guys doing from a developer perspective? Are you opening MCP servers, or what's kind of your philosophy on connecting with agents and workflows?
Okay, that were 5 questions in one, I would say.
Yeah, giving you lots of options. Yeah. Let's start with agentic connections.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, we are very developer friendly. Yeah. So basically everybody could go to hygraph.com, sign up for free, run a project, you can launch, you can start, and it works. By the way, I'm the best proof for that myself. I'm running my very own product management playbook website. And yes, I had it on WordPress, but of course, being the CPO of Hygraph, guess what? I had to drink my own champagne. So basically, when I had a little bit of time, Christmas last year, I migrated everything to Hygraph, and it's now fully powered on by Hygraph, and it's Vercel hosted and all of that. So even I could do it, being the dinosaur here. So, every developer can easily do that. That's all good, and it's all there. It's also all well-documented API first. We also launched MCP server, also just 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay.
And actually, you could go to, and I saw demos already. Personally, I didn't try it myself yet. Shame on me. But I saw, for example, some of my team members doing that. So you just go to Claude, you guys just go to ChatGPT, you chat with a tool, you embed Hygraph's MCP server, and you can create your own content. You can change your content. You can really play with it. The MCP server as of today is first of all, the first iteration was focusing on changing content. So it would not yet be the schema part of it. So creating a project from scratch would not yet work, but that's coming. But the first version was basically, I have a running project, I have a running website. Please add another article here. Please add another page there. Please make this and that change. So that's the kind of thing that we're having. And that is, of course, very, very developer friendly, particularly with MCP. So you talked earlier about CMOs. We have a little internal debate. Yeah, I would bet CMOs, I don't know whether they know what MCP really means. So it's essentially, how would I phrase it for them? It gives you it combines the power of APIs with AI and LLMs essentially, and makes it way easier to embed any kind of API in these Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, AI-powered world.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you want to talk a little bit about the roadmap? Where are you guys heading? What's on your mind?
Yeah, obviously, we will strengthen further our AI capabilities in one particular areas where maybe that's because of my history back in previous companies that would go too far here, but maybe because of that. We are strengthening particularly it may sound a bit boring, I would call it governance features. What I observe is that essentially everybody is racing to adopt AI, but we all know, hey, this AI stuff it's great. And it's great, and it's great until it isn't. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm a power user of all these tools. Very often I run into session end, and even I have screenshots where ChatGPT tells me, sorry, guy, this is getting too long. You need to start a new chat. This is, you're basically exceeding the limits. But all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, this thing just rewrote everything that we created before. Where's my content? It's gone. It just went crazy. It hallucinated or whatnot. And of course, this is something that we cannot afford with our customers. I mean, for example, we have healthcare customers. I mean, you as a healthcare customer, you better make sure every little word, every comma, every letter that you put on your website or on your mobile app or whatever is true and has been validated. Yeah. So, and that to me is this idea of governance. So how can we basically scale with AI, but without the risk? How can we keep the human in the loop? How can we ensure the AI does not go wild? We have very strong tools for that at Hygraph already. So a number, or basically many of our enterprise customers just love us for our governance features around, roles and permissions and content workflow. So it's very accurate and very, very fine granular. So the whole idea is we will essentially, hey, an AI is just a teammate. And if I have to follow rules, the AI has as well. So everybody has to follow rules. And that's the whole idea behind it, essentially. So that's one major pillar of our roadmap to enforce further these guardrailing governance features.
And how would Hygraph work if, and I think this may be the best way for enterprise to move forward, where they're implementing and integrating their own LLM, because kind of they're federated bunch of AI stuff. So even if things go haywire, it's haywire within the farm fence in a way. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, that would be exactly MCP. And we do actually have customers like that. So I think I can mention them. So Ancestry, for example, is a customer of ours. And when we started this whole journey, I had a conversation with them. And they actually described, hey, you know what? We're already doing a lot of AI. So what I would refer to that as they do a lot of their own AI behind the firewall, so to speak. Yeah? So basically, they do it themselves internally, have their own LLMs or maybe special contracts with OpenAI or whatever, however they do it. And now basically the ask was, okay, if we do all of that, how can we, at a certain point in time in that whole pipeline, we want to integrate Hygraph. And here MCP would be the response. So, hey, just embed MCP over there, and your LLM can talk to the MCP server of Hygraph, and then you can interact with your content. That's another great use case of MCP server. So not just making it very simple, say for developers who play around, but also this bring your own AI, you could call it. We used to have bring your own key and the kind of security and domain. I would even call that bring your own AI. And we see that demand definitely, and serve it with the MCP server.
I love it. Bring your own AI. I mentioned this a bit earlier. Time goes kind of quick as we get near the end here, but we're good to stay a bit long. I did want to make sure that we covered just anything else that you think folks should know about Hygraph. And then the second part would be, how do people get in touch with you? How do you onboard, get a demo, get your hands on the tools?
Yeah, basically the most things I think we touched. So it's all about complex content. Whenever it's difficult, probably complexity is a little bit challenging. I mean, would any customers say of themselves that, hey, we are complex? Probably not. But, again, when you're working in many different regions and many different locales, many different market segments, many different devices, channels, all of that. Also, velocity is a key thing. So how often does your content change, for example? Yeah. I mean, you cannot do that. We talked about WordPress before. I mean, try keeping 60 plus WordPress sites up to date every day, every week. I mean, just not possible. This is when Hygraph is the perfect fit. So basically, that's how I would summarize it. And there we have all the tools that come from very classic content management, but also with the AI tools and workflows and all of that. How to get in touch? Well, there's hygraph.com essentially. There's a website you can. Everybody, as I said earlier, It's free to use. Everybody can sign up, just create their own accounts, play with it. We also recently added a lot to our marketing website. So particularly maybe when you say that we're chief marketing officers, there are a lot of guided tours on our website right now. So no blurry videos, no polished. It's real. It's basically screenshots of the tool, and it's a guided tour. Yes, you cannot change it. You just are guided step by step, but you see how it really feels and how it really looks and what the journey really is, click by click. But with that, it makes it simpler. It makes it easier. You don't even have to log in. You don't even have to create an account and all of that. That would be the next step then usually. So, but I would suggest just go to our website, and then there is a lot of content that explains to you what we're doing for developers, what we're doing for marketers. The website is even organized in that way. So I think people will find their way very easily.
Awesome.
If not, find me on LinkedIn, send me mario.lenz@hygraph.com, send me an email, whatever. I'm here. Happy to help.
Cool. We'll get your links in the comments too on LinkedIn here. Wow, thanks a lot for joining us. That was really great. Thank you. Thanks, folks, for listening in now and in the future as well. This has been Beyond the CMS number 35, where we're talking everything about Hygraph. We've got Mario Lenz with us. We'll post your contact details everywhere that this content goes afterwards. Just a big shout out to everyone. I think we have another mini session before the holidays as well, so stay tuned here on LinkedIn. Mario, pleasure to have you. I can't wait to meet you one day, and thanks for informing me too. Really appreciate it. So signing off. Okay, have a great time in Berlin, and thanks everyone for listening in.
Thank you.
Ciao for now. Thank you.